one of them in the eye. The commander says, "What is the problem with these dungeons and why are there so many dungeons around us?" Suddenly, while he was not thinking about it, a wolf attacks him and he is able to count on his armor. At that time, when he looked at the toy, he noticed something strange about it. When I found the game, it was written on the status of the Mercury that it was in a state of agitation. This is what made him surprised because they did not do anything that would make the Mercury angry or put him in a state of agitation. The commander here interrupts their thoughts and tries to keep them from getting distracted and asks them to focus on fighting the Zealot. He asks their healer to go and heal Xiaozhong quickly. He tells the little witch Axis that she is using her attack as explosive fireballs to get rid of them. Ulzab countries. At that time, the whole group feels that they are cursed. Because not long ago, they were being treated in the hospital because the King of Scorpions attacked them. Now they have a situation that happens for the first time in this cell. We return to the witch, who uses her attack on the wolf. But there are a large number of these wolves and you cannot eliminate any of them. So she asks her commander to step back because she thinks the matter will be very dangerous. The leader is actually convinced by her words and all their affairs that they are backing down. He asks them to protect Axie because she is the one who will attack the wolf with the ball of fire. But suddenly they heard a strange sound from the direction they were running away from. When they looked to see what was going on, they found the leader of the lions standing behind them. This is what made Zhuzhong more surprised, because the leader of the lions was supposed to be on the second floor, to protect against entry. At the same time, this remained on the other side. Bacon Chang is a worker, singing and having fun while digging a hole in the floor of the second floor. This is to go and reach the king's room immediately. But in this building, he hears a giant roar coming from the first floor. But he tries to ignore him and tells himself that the 4 people with him have good equipment. It should mean that they are fine. But it doesn't mean that he goes and takes a look at them because the mission can be finished at any time. He says to himself, "I will not forgive myself if these 4 people actually died, because he would soon have died because of me." He actually walks after that and goes to the place where they are. When he arrives, he finds them all besieged by Olzub, and their leader is from everywhere. So Xuanji tells himself that he will help them but by dragging the leader away from them. They are supposed to be able to take over the life of Zabbat on their own. But here, before Xuanji finishes his thinking, he finds a huge red light that suddenly appears so suddenly that Xuanji closes his eyes from its power. When he opened it and looked, he found that the source of the fire was coming from the team leader's weapon, which he held in his hand. We know that players can take this weapon when they defeat the dungeon boss. The player can use it once, but after that it disappears. One of its features is that it provides the player with 50% of his attack power, defense, and healing abilities. This weapon is considered a very rare piece of this weapon. At this time, the team members remained very loyal to their leader because they used him. This is because they have accumulated savings for 6 months. They say that if anyone knows that they used a weapon from this group in an adventure, what is it? They will be a laughing stock to the whole world. Chang stayed, watching the situation from above and saying that they didn't really need my help. He also says that the weapon they used can be auctioned off to players at a price that will be delivered. 500,000 won. For those who saw this, it was the first time this had happened, because no one had ever used a weapon from this cell in a prison cell. What's the response? Chang still wants to know the remaining minute of time for this mission. He looks at the time and thinks he knows that he only has half an hour left and the mission is finished. He tells himself that he has to be quick because they only have 30 minutes. He then returns to the place he was in and continues digging until he can't actually reach the leader's room. There will be white wolves with 2 heads, and the leader is still asleep and does not wake up because of Shuang's entry. We now know that the reason they didn't wake up was because Chang wasn't designing the game at the time. There are checkpoints and hidden passes for the player. This is to make them more condescending as they explore the world. We know that the gates of the leader's room on the outside have a peg that if the player leans on it, he will make it open. It makes the leader and the wolf wake up automatically. But since Shuang drilled a hole in the ceiling and entered through it, the leader and the wolf are safe. Because of that, Chang then opens his winker and sits looking at the roasted pig. As soon as he got out, he placed a large pile of tranquilizers in front of him. He puts them all on the pig to make whoever eats them sleep as long as possible. After he finished preparing, he went to put it in front of the 2 lions and went to hide behind it. At that time, the 2 ants wake up from the smell of pork and start choking because one of them ate pork. All alone, Chang sees them and says to himself that if he had known that the 2 pigs would choke on food, he would have brought another one with him. He continues his words and says that these 2 stupid dogs will wake up the leader if you do not do this and do not do this. Close. But all of a sudden, they fell into a deep sleep due to the effects of the medications. This is what makes Chang so happy because he will finally have a chance to start the real mission. He tells himself that the leader's Gethsemane power is already weaker than that of the 2 Mercuries. But the reason that keeps these 2 mercenaries under his control is the Great Axe and the Vortex Head skill. At this moment, Shuang repeats that he is holding the leader's axe to use it. But he couldn't do that because he had set conditions for using it. This was the one who made him sit and scream because of his stupidity. As a result of his loud frankness, the dungeon master wakes up from his sleep. He sees Chang and tells himself that the situation remains very dangerous. He needs to keep Ulfazd away from the leader now so that he can be somewhat safe. But before he could do anything, the leader went and attacked him with both hands. But Xuanjie manages to avoid the attack with great difficulty. He realizes that the ground is shrinking beneath him because of the force of the attack that occurred. So he tells himself when he sees the force of the attack that he would have lost half his blood if he had been directly hit. The leader on the other side is not standing still and is directing him for several successive attacks. But Xuan can benefit from it all. He opens his hammer and takes out the 2 shovels that he uses as weapons. Then he activates the title of Killing Rabbits, which gives him 10% of his physical strength within 10 days. Minutes. He returns to confront the leader after workers were running away from him. He tells him that the chase is over and the time has come for him to be the prey. The leader gets upset with his words and goes to attack him. But Xuanjie is able to block him with the shovel he has and responds to him with a counterattack. But the leader is not affected by this attack, and his health is only reduced by a very small amount. Xuanjie is surprised that the force of the blow he directed at him had no effect on him at all. At this rate, he needs at least 200 blows to be able to find him. He says this topic will not be difficult for the teams that clear the dungeon together, because if there is a warrior among them who can withstand the damage from the leader's attacks and can distract him, then the rest of the joy. He focuses on them only attacking. He continues and says that he is the one now and there is no one with him who can distract the leader. At the same time, the leader was trying to remove a large rock and throw it at Chang. The attack would then be so fast that Chang would not be able to avoid it. He also gets infected and his health decreases by more than 60 points. Xuan, who was lying on the ground and affected by the attack, was surprised that the leader had throwing skills as well. He says that it is certainly the regime that developed the skills of leader Ulnis Bashir al-Losha, because it is completely different from the leader who designed it. At the same moment, the leader was standing, holding the leash and 2 wrists, and trying to wake up. At that time, Chang was surprised by what he was doing. He says that even though he is fighting alone, this cowardly leader is trying to ask for help from the mob. He tells himself that it is impossible for him to leave these 2 days alone because at that time he will not have any chance in winning. He quickly opens the list of statuses he has and thinks about putting all his points in the force. But he says that this will not help him enough that he defeats the leader in the specified time. That's why he keeps repeating that he thinks a little and puts all his clips to say. For himself, it is now supposed to be the highest flexibility game among players at the same time. His level. Then he quickly comes to the leader while he is trying to wake up the deer and starts hitting him with a shovel. But all of this has no effect on him and makes the leader become fanatical and dislike him as well. But Xuan was better this time and was able to dodge his attack easily. He speaks and says that the attack he carried out was a deceptive attack. His basic plan was to extinguish all the torches that provide light. Because at that time, while he was in the darkness, the devil who was with him gave him a great advantage over the adversary. Here, Chang begins to distract the leader with a voice from behind so that he can attack him. But the leader senses his attack and goes to repel it easily. But this is not Chang's only attack, because he starts hitting him with a shovel several times. It succeeds because it affects the leader's health and reduces it significantly. The leader, he tries to direct an attack to the place from which he receives strikes, but he does not. Nothing happens to him. This is because he cannot see because of the darkness. And Xuan, he was able to dodge all of his attacks easily. And he doesn't stop there. He also succeeds in directing a number of blows to the leader at a vital point. His speed decreases and he loses one eye. This would have cleared his field of vision. And tell the text. Xuanjie is very happy that his attack turned out to be effective. The darkness. He says that he should not waste his time and start attacking. The second is because there is not much time left until the task is completed. But the beast. At that time, he feels that Xuanjie wants to attack him. He holds the mercury chain. He starts moving it around at a high speed in order to nullify Xuan's attack. In fact, he succeeds in defeating him with a blow that almost makes him lose more than one. The text is correct. Xuanjie adapts very well to this attack and begins to open up. Almaghaza is to treat himself and increase his health. But the monster doesn't leave anything behind. A chance that he will rest and start directing the attack again with the chain. But Xuanjie manages to dodge at the last moment and uses Dao to increase his health level. He tells himself that he wished he was with him. At least. And if he had a healer, he would have been able to confront this monster. Interface. Here, as soon as he finishes recovering, dictionaries go to the leader, with so many successive attacks that it makes him lose 2/3 of his health. But then he comes to send her out of the game, and she tells him that it is because the leader lost 3 times his health. Rampage mode will be activated. The leader in this episode, he will still be very strong, to the point that he strikes Shuing with a blow that leaves him dead. He is able to benefit from her speed. He tries to act and block with the shovel, which is frowning. This scoop is broken. He goes so far away that he reaches to the limits of the room and break the guard against the power of the attack, and his health goes to a story. 100 points out of 50. Xuanjie thinks after that and says to himself, if he was hit again like this, his life would end immediately. What a dope. He doesn't finish his words and finds the leader in force trying to strike him. But Xuanjie was able to save her at the last moment, and he says to the monster, don't think that you are the only one who can enter into a state of satire. And then it opens the value of the mission and he will not find Fatal Gara after any Kabas. And this is what it makes him use the Prophet card, which is the devilish transformation. And actually here, he starts to transform. Wings and horns appear, and the color of his hands and feet changes, for the tan color. As a result of the effect of this transformation, all his problems will increase by 20 points. But of course there is a negative to the transformation, which is that it sits just for 30 seconds. He talks to Chang after that and tells him that he feels it. By force you move inside him. And he felt like he could at least play the 30th level as long as it is in this transformation. And he continues and says that, even if the leader is in Hagen's condition right now, he is able to feel, with fear and terror in his eyes. In fact, the leader is very clear about it. Signs of horror. But he remains Egypt and tries to throw a big stone at me. Shuang. But Shuang could easily block it with one hand. But then he breaks it as if it's nothing. He looks at the leader and asks him, mockingly, if he was ready, the time would come when he would be hit hard. And he flies at a very high speed at the leader and tells him to bear it. The strength of his grip is how powerful it is. He begins to deal several blows to the leader. It makes him lose a lot of health points. And he still can't understand. What happens is the speed and strength of Shuang's attacks. In the midst of the attack, Chang was thinking to himself. He says that the transformation is very strong. The only drawback is that it lasts for 30 seconds. And if he cannot defeat the leader in this period, the roles will change at that time. And it will be the opportunity this time. And he won't have any chance to defeat him. Because of this, he decides that he will not go to the leader. There is no chance that he will regain his strength again and respond to the attack. We return again at this time to the first floor in the cell, in which the 4 players are still dedicated to their fight against the wolves. They remain very exhausted and cannot believe that they have finally been able to win this battle. Then the witch speaks and says that her staff is about to break. Suddenly, while they were resting after this battle, they heard a very strong sound coming from the lower floors of the cell. This is what makes them so terrified by the sound. Zhuang goes to ask the leader if this sound means that there is a big problem waiting for them. But Exi responds to him and tells him that this sound is like the sound of 2 monsters fighting with each other in the place below them. Length. On the other side, the commander was trying to reassure them and ask them to regain their strength first from last battle. They try to remain aware of any danger around them at all times. But during this moment, they receive a message that the dungeon master has been defeated. This made them surprised and did not understand what was happening. We return again to Chang, who has still won his battle. As a result of defeating the dungeon boss, his level increases by 3 levels. His game also meant that he was able to complete the mission in the allotted time. Chang couldn't believe that he was actually able to defeat him. He would be curious to see the things that the leader was rude to do after he was eliminated. He opens the spindle and finds a rare piece whose strength level is unknown. But what attracts his attention the most is the amount of crystals that shamed the leader when he died. This makes Xuanji very happy because finally he will no longer be with him. Problem with the fluke. He will also be able to get food for Minji as it is. I want. He then thinks to himself and tells him that he must find someone. He creates a stronger good for him. Or even get him 2 new shovels because he's used to it. That's it. He looks at the village again to explore it. And he is surprised, because the regime does not know how to determine its level of power. And he is even more surprised because he didn't add this thing and is programming the game. He wonders if the system was. He explained it himself here. Meanwhile, Chang is resting. In it, he explores the block, finds 4 players, and opens the door to a room. The leader. Chang says to himself that because of this, according to the game settings, when the big door opens, the mercury on this head will wake up and will not affect me. Any medicine? He tells himself that he is a very stupid person to make settings like this. He continues by saying that he must set now before the mercury notices him. On the other side, 4 players enter the room. And they will be. They are surprised about the reason for the leader's death, even though the door did not even open. Something. They wonder if the mercury was the one who did this. After a while, time will determine that they will defeat the mercury that is there. As a result of this fight, they will be very exhausted. And Zwango speaks to them, telling them that the trip to this cell was a great loss for them. And they even lost the rare weapon they had and all those who were able to deceive the interview. And a magic crystal of what level? And whoever considers that she does not do anything at all. Something. But suddenly a message from the game appears here. And you know that they are appreciated. They described the Lone Wolf's dungeon in less than an hour. And that's what they did. They broke the last record. And for this reason, the system must mean about. The result is for all the players and he asks them if they want to put their name in. Advertising and not publishing effortlessly. Their leader thinks and chooses. They publish their names, and the regime responds to them and asks if they are. They want to name their team with a name that the leader approves of. On this suggestion, he repeatedly calls themselves the Salamander team. As soon as the team name is recorded, the message spreads among all the players. This is what makes them all surprised, because the last record number recorded by the team at the same level was 2 hours. The difference between them is very big. He says that they certainly use the tools to make them happy, and that they describe the crisis as quickly as that. Because even the Park Dragon Guild, despite using 3 rare tools, they estimated that they could complete it in an hour and a half. We come back again to the team who are happy with their fame. They say that now they will be able to join some good unions. Here another message from the game comes to them. You tell them that it is because they were able to clear the dungeon in less than an hour. They estimated that they would obtain the title of Wolf Slayer, which increases the power of their attacks by 7%. The team is very happy because of the terrible impact of this title. They start heading to the first floor in order to get out of the cell before it closes. When they got there, they found Shuang standing and not working. Bacon collected very few crystals. This is what Zhuang's tendency was to be fanatical towards him, because only a very small number of people came out, even though he had been digging in the grocery store for a long time. But Zhuang apologizes to him and tells him that his shovel was broken. This is the reason that made him unable to quilt. He responds to Zwenga angrily and tells him that this was their mistake in the first place, because they went and appointed someone as bad as him. They also say that the crystals you brought us will not compensate for the rare performance we used. And he says, we will allow you to take the title of killing the wolf, in case you don't care about the crystals and leave them for us alone. Chuanja does not care about what he says because he has a good number of crystals because of his determination to the leader. but he finds Axie calling you and replacing him with 2 crystals as promised. Shawanja thanks her for her love and asks her name and phone number. This is what made Axie very nervous about his question because it was not expected at all. She tells him while she is uncovered that her name is Shanxi. Then she changed her numbers and asked him to get out of the cell quickly because it was about to close. After that, they go outside and find a lot of players there waiting for them to join their teams. They also find 2 other players who ask them to keep the secret that will allow them to clear the dungeon so quickly. Other players also ask if the monsters have stolen any valuable items so they can buy them from them at a high price. Xuanji here doesn't like crowds and he likes to be around so many people. He decides to hide himself, sneak in between them, and walk to the place where he is alone. As soon as he moves a good distance away from them, he reassures that no one sees him. At that time, he tells himself that since he is able to do the task of changing jobs on time, now he can change his job again. There are 3 options in the game, and the first choice will be a warrior devil. His features are his physical strength, defensive strength, attack, and solid body, which is not affected at all except by some primary weapons. The second choice is Satan, a hunter. Its features are high flexibility and offensive potential, and he has the ability to turn this high flexibility into an attack at any time, making the enemies in front of him terrified of him. The last choice is Shatan Mashao's. This is his advantage in that he has a high spirit and can use many types of medicine that lack healing. Not only that, but he is able to recruit any dead soul or skeleton for his account. Through this recruitment, he alone is able to fight an entire army. Xuanji remains shocked by the 3 jobs because they are all very rigid in comparison. The system asks if it is possible to get all 3 at once. But he responds to the system and knows that he can only choose 1 job. He may be able to choose more than 1 job if he only has a hero certificate. Xuanji gets frustrated here when he learns that he has to get a hero certificate. Because with this certificate, he will need the owner's help to be able to obtain it. But he ignores this issue and tells himself that he should never get angry with her, because she gets upset as soon as she sees him. Then he bids on all the points he has in his agility. He says that the Devil Hunter would be the most suitable job for me, because he can turn all his agility into attack power if he needs to do so. Indeed, he chooses this job and finds that he is gaining new battles, which are the battles of goal setting. This is what helps him feel the presence of his enemy, as long as he is transferring a skill. It also increases damage to opponents due to weakness. However, through it, he can identify the weak points of his opponent. Shanji is very happy with this skill because it will be useful to me in individual battles. It would be more useful to me if he wanted to go and describe an entire cell alone. After that, we will go to the Players Association building. Assistant Liping will inform the president of the latest news by saying that the Valkyria Guild and the Shadow Jin Guild, they were fighting in a large air battle to the west of the giant tree. The goal now is 40 players, including the vice president and head of the Valkyria Guild. The union itself dissolved and disappeared. We now know that this Valkyria syndicate falls directly under the authority of the army, and they usually don't participate in the caves over the cells, but they are always on the front lines of fighting monsters. President Liu talks to her and asks her how many people know about this matter now. The assistant responds to him and tells him that to prevent this disaster from spreading, they attended the news for a while. She also says that the officials asked them to prepare a disaster and send it as a distortion in the first ranks in order to support them. We go back again to Xuan, who is riding in a horse carriage so he can get out of the tree. As soon as he came out, he found that his phone had a network connection. He noticed that there were messages from Kadir whose workers were delaying him because he had been off the phone for 2 days. We see that the one who is sending these messages to him is Miss Ma, the landlady. Her workers would mock him in letters and say, "How can you call yourself the one in charge? You didn't even know that Minji was tired." And after that, in the end, you know that she took it to the hospital. Shawanja is running to the hospital because they are worried about her. But when he arrives there in the room, he finds her sleeping. He can't find anyone but the lady, but she's the one who's there and asking him to lower his voice. She asks him why he disappeared during the past 2 days. Then she starts scolding him for being negligent and because he did not know that Manja had a mother. Shawanja responds to her and tells her that he was working to collect money. He tells her that this time she collected some nice money. Now, I will finally be able to pay the rent for the apartment and the money for the repairs that I caused. Even the hospital expenses I will be able to pay. Are you surprised by what you heard? She says that since she was the owner of the apartment in which he lived for 2 years, he said that what he saw during the past period was just losses. She had never seen him earn any amount of money before. He looks at her and goes to get out of the spindle that has 3 crystals. He exchanged crystals for her and told her that they were supposed to cover my costs and receipts. She is shocked when she sees them because she understands that he was fighting in the cells. But Shuang reassures her and tells her that he was not fighting and that he was just a miner collecting crystals. There is enough. At the same time, someone comes and knocks on the door of the room. When Shuang opens the door, he finds the nurse asking them about Ming's guardian because the doctor needs to meet him. Here, at the same time, Chang and the missus do not say that they both are her guardian. Shuang looks at the water and tells her that he is the one who should go because he was the one who was taking care of her. When he goes to the doctor after that to see what he wants from him, he finds the doctor shocked that this is Ming's father because Sun is very young. But he doesn't care much about this topic and tells me that Xuanji is preparing himself to read the explanation of Ming's disease. Xuanji hears his words and begins to read in the text. We know that Minji suffers from demonic manner harmony syndrome. When Xuanji here hears that she has this disease, he is very shocked. This is because he knows that this disease is a burden to any patient. It is like a vulture for people who lived in the ancient era. We know that after the game conquered the world, the air that humans breathed was composed of oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. But because of the game, there was an element that increased them, which was demonic semen. Although most people are not affected by it, this does not prevent it from being a small percentage of people. It can absorb this substance. Because of this issue, some negative symptoms appear on the patient, such as constant high temperature, lethargy, and loss of appetite. In some patients, dark energies begin to appear in their hands. We go back to the doctor again, and he tells Chang that at the present time there is no longer anything like this, and they invented it. To treat this disease, they currently only use preventive treatment for the disease. The doctor continues his words and tells Chang that his daughter's body contains approximately 10 times more than satanic semen. This is not supposed to be present in the body of a normal patient. He also tells him that he has never seen this amount in a sick person before. He feels sorry for him because even preventive treatment may not work for his daughter. And he, in fact, the one who is here now and whose daughter is still alive is considered a miracle. Xuanji, he remains in a state of terrible shock from what he heard all of this, and he sits alone to think about what he would do about this calamity that befell him. And he says to himself, he can't give up easily. And he still has a chance to work. The cave on the hidden city of bones. Because there he will stay. The chance that monsters will expect the buzz of Iasis tears. How much can you do? It cures any patient, no matter who he is. But the problem is that these sizes are not found only in the city of hidden bones. And this place alone is touching death to anyone. This is not the fact that the city prohibits any group that fears in this cell together. But he could enter it and describe it completely. Alone. He continues his words after that and informs us that it is for those who are guilty. For ordinary people, this task is impossible for them. But he tells us that things have changed. He became completely different from Shuang when he didn't know him. Our drowning kills us. Shuang returns to Ming's room again. And there, she asks him about Ming's news and what the doctor told him. He responds to her. Shuang tells her it's just regular meat. The doctor had told me that. The care money I paid is not enough, and he will need money as well. She responds. She gets nervous and tells him that this hospital is robbing us because we paid. Today, $3,000. I can't believe they finished it though. The day is still not over at all. She then tells him that if there was no money, there would be no money. It is enough that you can postpone the rent money and pay it after Ming is treated. Xuanji remains captivated by her tenderness and keeps crying and telling her that it is her, good and strong. But she responds to me because she is nervous and tells him that she does everything. This is just because of Ming. If it were not for her at all, her time would have been satisfied with the house a long time ago. She tells him to go take a shower because his whole body is full of dust. You will take care of Ming today. Xuanji thanks her for her medical care and goes home to bathe him, and he tells himself that after participating in this devil's race, all his body started to change, and if he has a strong resolve, he can make him harbor anything. Something. Although his level is at the 13th level, his skills are limited, higher than almost all players at level 20th. And skillfully, identifying the target that you acquired before can clear an entire dungeon from this level alone. But if it was a rank C dungeon, then it might be. He faces some difficulties. That's why he needs to develop his fighting skills. In general, Chang leaves his house after that and goes to a street called Street Shan. We know that players in this street can buy, and they sell their weapons. Shuang passed by and stayed next to someone trying to sell 4-6 little animals. This animal is a Mercury with a comparison, and he tells her that this animal is very safe, and all she has to do is get lost on this button, and he held a remote in his hand. And when your house is on, the button electrifies the Mercury with new electricity, causing it to lose consciousness. The pen. He tells her that regardless of this color, they will have all their fangs. He won't know how to promise anyone or cause any harm to anyone. This woman thinks about what he said and agrees to buy it. And Shuang is bacon, disappointed with what they are doing to this animal. And he tells himself that the land is no longer the land they were accustomed to, and the situation now is very different from the past. But unfortunately, humans preferred the same. Humans are old and nothing has changed for them. Chang enters the bank. After that, he exchanges his crystals for money. But he finds me there. The price of crystals continues to decrease day by day, and he says that there is definitely a reason. This is because players are constantly raiding dungeons. Sooner or later, the price of these crystals will decrease significantly. Shuang opens his bracelet and it comes out looking like Yenin stones, the robe A and the robe D. Then he goes to the window to change them. She refers to a girl standing at the window and tells him that the price of crystals is. What is the response today? Quarter 55. And this dress is its price. 90.65. She asks him if he is sure he wants to change them. Chang responds to her and tells her that he still has magic crystals as well. He wants to change it. He takes out a large crystal from his bag and asks her about its price. As soon as accounting sees this crystal, it becomes clear that it is the first. Once you see a crystal of this size, after you examine it, you tell him that this crystal is of this rank and is a very pure crystal. And she tells him their bank can pay $10,000 to buy it from them. And she asks him whether he agrees or not. Chang replies to her that he agrees and doesn't have anything problem for the price. The employee thanks him and tells him that the bank will transfer money as quickly as possible. When Xuanji comes out of the bank, he finds messages are blocked with the amount transferred. And he tells himself that there is still a discount. The remaining amount is $133,000. Almost. After that, he He goes to the weapons store to find a weapon for himself. There, but when he sits for a while and watches the swords, he comes out of the store and frustrated. He says that all the weapons in the store are very bad and that he did not find them. Even catheter equipment. But the real reason is that these swords are. It is very expensive, and Chang doesn't know how to afford it, and he said that just because. He gets burned as he leaves the store, and after walking around for a while, he finds someone. He sat in front of him on the ground with a piece of weapons in front of him, waving them open, and then a sword caught his eye. A stranger emits a violet light, and when he holds it, he is very surprised because it is this sword. He has 3 influences, but the seller tells him that he is not very happy because of this. This sword is not intended for humans, because if too many humans use it, they will be harmed. It decreases by 10% with every attack they make. Chang sits laughing at me. His secret, because now Satan is not even a human being and he tells himself that it is necessary. He acts calmly so that the seller does not raise the price when he asks him. When he asked for it, the seller replied that it was 500,000, and this is what. Shuang is shocked by this high price because people will not know, and they use it at all. The seller responds to him and tells him that this is a weapon. The response is there. If you don't want to, you can leave him and walk away. Don't make me lose my mind. Chang doesn't want to walk, but he wants the sword. Indeed. He tells him that he is a person who likes to collect strange things, and it opens. His muzzler brings out the axe of the leader who defeated him in the dungeon. Armored. He offers to exchange this axe for the sword he has. He catches this corrupt salesman and tells him that he is just a weapon of this kind. But despite this, he agrees to lose some of his gain and exchange it for himself. This is because the seller originally sells groceries for how many days I do not live without anything. Chang takes the sword and walks away, happy with the deal he made. He tells himself that if this salesman had known that I was not a human being, he would have fainted immediately. But at the same time, the sellers there will be very happy about this deal. He tells Chang that he is just a stupid person with money because corruption is not so bad as he said. Shuang then heads to the hospital to check on Ming. But when he arrives, he finds that she and the missus are not sleeping. He doesn't want to bother them and goes to the reception room. He asks the nurse to transfer the patient in room 27 to the VIP room. After some time passed, when day broke, the missus woke up to receive a message from the bank. He tells her that $24,000 was transferred to her from Chang. The months I spent and the repairs to the house. You will also find a message. He came to her from Chang and asked her to take care of her life during this period. This is because they will be gone for a few days. After that, we will go to Changwali, Bacon in the Great Rift Valley. He says that this valley is far from. The city is 1 kilometer away. It is 120 miles away from the huge tree. Kilometer. Although he is close to the city, he cannot ride. Arabic because it falls under the tree, and as we knew before that. In this area, there is no technology that works there, but Shuang Ma. He never gets upset and says that it is because of his luck that he remains a devil and his strength. Physically, I became very strong by walking a distance of 30 kilometers. A meter will not be anything intoxicating to him. He looks at the map he has yet. Thus, he says that the village of Darren is supposed to be close to him, and that if I remember correctly, and according to the previous design of the game, the object is supposed to be hidden in the depths. A spot in the dense fog forest. Before the dungeon there opens so that he can find it and enter the mission, he must have the mission map with him first. This is what will direct you to the exact location of the cell. He can only get this map in the village of Darren. After that, we go to a strange hut and find there a lot of toys standing in front of it. On the face of this hut, there is a drunk man sitting on the floor and telling the player that if he wants this task, he must. The first one wants him to get a beautiful girl to accompany him. At that time, the one with the best hair, the one named Zhao, loses his temper and takes out his sword to kill him. But his friend follows him and tries to stop him, telling him that if he kills an ordinary character, he will be warned not to play permanently. Current time. But even though he doesn't hear the words, he asks him to leave him because he has to eliminate this man. Then he collapses and says nervously that the bastard has set up a trap on him and let him bring him food and drink. Every day in the past period. He spent it on his own, but he spent half a year on his side. Despite all this, he now refuses to be given any equipment. At the same moment, Xu Hang was standing at the door of the hut and telling the man that he had finally met him. But before he talks to him, the player warns him and tells him that this man is a deceiver and deceives people. Eating and drinking it every day, he advises him that it would be better if he did not accept his mission. Then this man speaks to Chang and says that if you want the new mission, you must get a beautiful girl because, be with me. Zhao tries to prevent Chang from listening to this man's words and tells him that he will set him up like him. But suddenly he finds Xuanji taking out a women's magazine from his bag. Then he shows it to this man, who is very surprised and in complete shock at the stupid solution. This works for him. Xuanji talks to the man and tells him that if he likes this magazine, he has 3 more. But suddenly he finds the man snatching them from his hand and telling him that the mission will not be taken so easily. He asks him to go and bring him Nabis because he is thirsty. Chang hears the word